Michelle Barnum Smith here, and I want to give you kind of a step-by-step instruction today on how to set up sponsored messages inside of ManyChat. Now, sponsored messages are what has effectively replaced sending broadcasts to your subscriber base. And if you aren't set up with subscription messaging and you're using standard messaging, then when you're sending a broadcast to your subscriber base, this is the method that you want to use. Now, to be clear, there are going to be people in your list that if you've been sending messages out on a frequent basis that probably have the 24+1 rule of engagement applied to them, and you should always send to those people first because that means those are your most engaged audience members. And a quick way to kind of see this is to come over here to audience, and you can go under filter and you can see something like last interaction was before, or let's say after. I'll do like a week ago, because the 24+1 rule is basically 24 hours plus one more interaction. So if you sent a message, if you're like consistently sending a message maybe like once a week or that sort of thing, then there's a good chance that a portion of your list are still getting your messages and would still get your messages under this 24+1 rule. So there is benefit to continued interaction with your list. Of course, we know all this. So of my 500 subscribers, I have 46 who would apply to like my last interaction. Okay, so let's go back and check out setting up this new, even though it's still under broadcast, it's still going to be called that. Let's get this set up. Now, you still, all right, so let's click on new broadcast. I'm just going to say test sponsored message. And let's just leave this as is for now. Then we're going to click on go next. And this is where you can see that if you're approved for subscription messaging, you'll have this option. I am approved for subscription messaging. If you are confused or have any questions on whether you should apply for subscription messaging, please watch the video that I'll share below on who should apply for subscription messaging and who shouldn't. But for most Amazon sellers, most e-commerce sellers, you're wanting to send promotional content, and unfortunately, you can't use pretty much any of these tags to fit under that, to fit in that realm, I guess. So if you have questions about tags, watch my other video about messenger tags, what they are, how they're used, that sort of thing. So what you're going to use is essentially one of these three things: your promotional content, which you can see would go out to users, follow-up content. Once again, I'm approved for subscription messaging, so maybe this is, this one can't contain, can contain promotions. So there you go. But we're going to talk today about go to ManyChat ads. This is all kind of new and a little funky, so bear with me as we kind of explore this together, because we're still, obviously, this is brand new tech is being rolled out. So we're all just testing and trying things and seeing what's working, what's not working. All right, so let's come over here and create a new ad. And I'm going to select my ad account. As you can see, I have access to like 1 million. All right, so here's a couple options that you can choose from: create a new campaign or select an existing campaign. I'm going to select an existing campaign. You know what? Let's just start with create new campaign, because that's where all y'all are going to be, as we say here in the States, all y'all, or in the southern states. So messages is the option. That's what we want here. And we're going to call this test sponsored ads. Set a campaign spend limit. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, if you want to limit this to a certain budget, I would play around with this feature a little bit, depending on how many subscribers you have. You might just leave this blank and see what it costs to send that campaign on a regular basis. And then if you want to control your ad spend over time, then you can play around with that a little bit more. So let's just leave that as is for now. Now, create a new ad set. This is where you're essentially selecting you're going to select your sponsored messages. And a couple of things to be aware here. You do want to be cognizant that ManyChat is a platform that sits on top of Messenger. And when people unsubscribe from your bot, they're unsubscribing from ManyChat, not from Messenger. So it is important to essentially create a custom audience for your targeting. And I will create another video where I show how to export your ManyChat audience and upload them into Facebook Ads Manager as a custom audience. It takes just a few minutes. Not anything too crazy, don't worry. And then that will be kind of like the entirety of your audience as opposed to the audience that you want to target. So you're not sending and paying to send these messages to people who have indicated that they want to unsubscribe, and then they keep getting your messages, and then they're going to get pissed and they're going to block your messages or do things that could affect your messenger rating with Facebook. I know it's super pain in the butt. Don't love this, but once you set this up, it is a little bit easier to do. Okay, so for the most part, you're just going to, you can name this whatever you want, like ManyChat audience, and obviously, if you're going to include your custom audience, then you're gonna like select them here. So I have my ManyChat audience in here somewhere. Okay, so let's say that I want to use my ManyChat audience, and whatever, we don't know how many that is going to include at this point. You can select obviously other audiences as well. Now, something important to understand about targeting the custom audiences, this is going to effectively replace being able to select who your audience is, like who you're sending this message to. So previously in broadcast, you could use the tagging functionality to say, okay, I want to target people with this specific tag, and then ManyChat would use that tag. So if you're going to use an audience like that over and over again, create them as a custom audience, and then obviously import them into Facebook so that you have them in here. So maybe if it's like a country based subscriber base, so like the US audience, your UK audience, your Australia audience, something like that, then you will want to create those custom audiences so that you can target them specifically with your sponsored messages. Okay, you can do a little bit of this targeting of, if you have a general list and you want to say, I want to do the US or UK. I don't trust this completely. I would still do your custom audience if you're wanting to, target based on location. Okay, and then I wouldn't worry about any of the rest of this stuff. I would just rely on creating your own custom audiences and don't worry about the rest of this. Okay, let's click next. Please be aware, sponsored message ad is only displayed to your subscriber as an unread thread in their messenger inbox, so implies no other placement. So what they're saying here is that this is just going to be a messenger, show up as a messenger message, not a messenger inbox ad, not a Facebook ad of any kind. So it's just going to show up as an unread message. Okay, don't worry about placements. Don't worry about mobile devices. All right, let's click next. All right, so daily budget, you are going to have to put something in here. Let's just put $30 to start with and run my ad set continuously from the starting day. You can get specific here if you want this to send during a specific time frame, starting date, end date. I would probably just run this like if you want it to like go out like in a day, I would limit it to that day. I wouldn't, obviously have an end date that's like, several days later, that sort of thing. All right, so let's hit continue. Now, one of the reasons why they have that in there is Facebook, once again, is trying to protect the engagement of their subscribers and people using Messenger. And so what they're saying is, what we're hearing is that a Messenger subscriber is only going to receive one sponsored message per day across the entire platform. So if I'm on if I'm subscribed to Nike and Williams Sonoma and this brand and this brand and this brand, and they all are scheduling to send a message to me on the same day, think like, I don't know, Black Friday or something like that, then Facebook is going to layer that send time and prioritize and deprioritize. I don't know what the criteria they're going to use to do that. this is just word on the street, speculation at this point, but it's good to know. It's good to know. It's crazy to know, right? All of these things that we're now experimenting with. Okay. Now, when it comes to the actual message, now, in this example, let's say I'm going to be running a broadcast ranking campaign to my audience, and I'm going to do like a 10-day drip. And so in this example, in the previous way that we did broadcasts, you can send a broadcast and it would send it, like the 10-day drip would send people all at once. And then they would kind of like sit in their delay timers until their day has arrived, and then they get sent that message. Okay. We're still going to do that. But to send broadcasts now, you have to kind of have like an opt-in step, similar to what you did with Facebook ads originally to get those subscribers in. So you have like, a button basically saying, hey, this deal is going live this week. Click here to get notified when it's live, or that sort of thing. So you really want to sell it is what I'm saying. So I'm going to do this, whatever this is called. My brain has stopped. And I've pre-created some text here. So we've got a headline, and there are character limits in here, just like there are with like the regular messenger stuff. Okay, you have your subtitle. And where's my image at? All right. So let's say I am promoting these shoes. We're going to be running 75% off. Click reserve now. So we're going to say reserve now. All right. And this is where you can now connect to the rest of the broadcast. So I'm going to click go to flow and select my flow. And here's where I'm going to grab my typical 10-day drip right here. So if somebody clicks on reserve now, then they're obviously going to go into that delay experience. So that once that's done, you're just going to click send to Facebook, and you're done, and you're good. So what I would recommend, and it may be something that I update into my broadcasts if as we experiment more and more with this, but something you might consider doing. That's lovely. You can't save. So I'm just going to open another tab. Now, I have tried and experimented with this using Facebook Ads Manager. You can set up sponsored messages inside of Facebook Ads Manager as well. I don't love it. It is a little confusing, a lot confusing at times. So what I found is ManyChat for now is kind of the more streamlined way to get it set up. So what I'm thinking is to have like a confirmation message that they get as soon as the deal, when they click opt in for the deal, essentially. So we'll say, great, you're in. You shortly when the deal is live. Okay. And you might do something like, include the image of the shoe as well, so it's clear we're still talking about the same thing. And click publish. Let's go back to this step. Okay, so this is like our hot shoe ad. Okay, and we're going to click send to Facebook. Stuff and fluff. Maybe just have, like a reiteration of the content here. Okay, So that is the extent of the message, how to look in your inbox. All right, so let's preview. I always love testing things. So let's take a look. I'm just gonna take a look on my phone too and just see how it looks. Okay. Can you see that? Maybe I'll record the screen on the video as well. So you can see it looks exactly the same. Let's just click reserve. And there's the image and good. It worked. Yay. All right. So a couple of things to know. Let's send this to Facebook. So just like a Facebook ad, the sponsored message goes through an approval process as well. Um, so sometimes that takes just like a few minutes, sometimes longer. So I'm just going to turn this off. Okay. And let's make sure that's turned off because I don't want that to go out. Whatever. Okay. I know that it's not going to go out and I'll delete it here in a second. Okay. So a couple of things to keep in mind. When you do, we're kind of seeing a bunch of different times that the ads actually get sent, the sponsored messages actually get sent. So unlike a broadcast where you hit send and it goes, with sponsored messages, it has different kind of timing associated with it. So you're essentially saying, hey, I want it sent, preferably during this time, but it might not. It might not. I'm seeing a lot of different kind of send times and delays. I had a friend who was just telling me yesterday that she set up her ad to she set it up at like 7:30 in the morning. It didn't get out until 7:30 at night. So just be aware that if you're going to run like ranking campaigns or anything that's super time sensitive, start the campaign the day before and then let it run. But probably try as much as possible to avoid anything that's super time sensitive. Now, once again, when you get people to actually click on your ad, that counts as engagement. And once again, that is what Facebook cares about. And that's what determines the number of people that you can actually reach via like your promotional content numbers or your follow-up numbers. That is what's going to determine how many of those you can just freely send to. So it's really important to kind of establish that cadence of engagement. You don't have to constantly be running sponsored messages unless you are unless you only have like a few products that you're going to be ranking every once in a while. And if that's the case, if that super time sensitivity is most important to you, you might want to look at running Facebook ads, to cold traffic or even retargeting your ManyChat audience and see if that gets you a faster result than sponsored messages, at least for now, at least until we can get some, more data as far as how these are performing and how consistent they're working. That being said, still think of and prepare ways to create engagement with your list so that you can increase this number and have a good audience to continue marketing to, continue to have that good engagement with. Now, something to keep in mind, and maybe I'll share this in the other post on exporting audiences, because I do want you to curate an audience and remove people who are dead from your list, who are not interacting with you, because you do not want to pay to have to send messages to those people. So watch for that training on how to create your custom audiences, including how to purge your audience of people who are not interested in your content. Okay, hopefully this is helpful. We're kind of all in this together. So as you see, as you start experimenting with this, I'd love to hear your send times, how quickly your messages are getting sent out, how the engagement rate is looking, and all of that fun stuff. So be sure to provide feedback so we can all learn from it. Thanks so much.